It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday evening to you. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. Game 2 of the 3-game series with the Diamondbacks. D-backs win last night. Dodgers have won 5 of the previous 6. For the Dodgers, it'll be Dan Herron on the mound, a former D-back. He is 1-0 against Arizona this year. He is 2-0 for the start of the year, and he is 3-1 lifetime against Arizona. By the way, Herron trying to get off to a 3-0 start. That would be the 3rd time in his young career. On the mound, talking about young for the Arizona Diamondbacks, his name is Mike Bolsinger. He's from McKinney, Texas. He's 6'3", 26 years old. When he was in school at the University of Arkansas, big man on campus, the Indians wanted him, the A's wanted him, and he finally signed with Arizona. And he'll be making his major league debut in a starting role. He did pitch 3 innings in relief Monday against the New York Mets. As far as the D-backs are concerned, well, it's welcome mat night at Dodger Stadium. They don't need a welcome mat. They're very much at home here. They've won 19 of the last 28 against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. And with that, we'll be back with the ball game and a whole lot more right after this.
Dodgers, a beautiful shot of Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine and downtown Los Angeles. Welcome inside Dodger Stadium, everybody. I am Alana Rizzo. Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers ace, was put on the disabled list back on March 30th, retroactive to March 23rd, but he is making significant progress as far as his return to the hill is concerned. He threw a bullpen session in San Francisco on Thursday And Kershaw will throw in a simulated game tomorrow where he will face hitters. He will throw in the bullpen first and then finish up with the hitters. Now, of course, they will limit his velocity. They're not going to let him go out there and throw as hard as he probably wants to throw. There is no commitment on when he'll be activated off of the disabled list, but Don Mattingly did say that he will have to do at least one rehab start, and he also wasn't sure if he had been reevaluated by any doctors or had another MRI since the original one. Game 2 between the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers coming up next. Dan Herron on the hill for Los Angeles. Vince Scully with the call.
Of the 3-game series with Arizona, the D-backs winning it last night. They're making it a habit of giving the Dodgers a bad time. They've now beaten them 19 of the last 28 here at Dodger Stadium. So tonight they'll give the ball to Dan Herron. Herron 2-0 this year, trying to go 3-0 for only the 3rd time in his 12-year career. He beat Arizona the last time, but as he would be the first to admit, he really didn't have that much, and he got by for a while to beat Gibson and his club. Talking about Gibson, let's take a look at the names on his lineup card that's already been dispatched up to home plate to the 4 umpires. It'll be Gerardo Parra leading off in center field, Aaron Hill at second base, Paul Goldschmidt at first, Miguel Montero behind the plate. Cody Ross will go into right field where Parra normally hangs out. Martin Prado is at third. Mark Trumbo comes back and starts a game at Dodger Stadium, not for the Angels, but for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The shortstop is Chris Owings, and the pitcher, a 26-year-old born in Chicago, lives in Texas by the name of Mike Bolsinger. On the mound for the Dodgers, certainly a familiar figure now, Dan Herron. His best year with Arizona was 2008. He was a 16-game winner that year. The next year he won 14, and the year after that 7, and so he was gone. But his time with Arizona, he wound up 37 victories, 26 defeats. Now, going up against his old club, he is 3-1 lifetime. Dodger pitching staff would be 5th in the league, an ERA of 2.6. Arizona the other way, they're 7.6. We can take a look at the Dodgers defensively. There are the outfielders, Carl Crawford, Matt Kemp, and Andre Ethier in right. The infield, Juan Uribe, Hanley Ramirez at short, D. Gordon at second, Adrian Gonzalez at first. Behind the plate, Drew Butera handling Dan Harron. Gerardo Parra will start it off. Parra usually is involved very much in any Dodger game, and sure enough, last night he had 3 hits and a very important sacrifice. So Parra will start it off, followed by Aaron Hill, and then big Paul Goldschmidt. Parra hitting .273 with a home run, 7 runs batted in. He's out there every day. This is their 20th game, and he hasn't missed one. So Parra ready to go, left-hand batter. Harron looks in the sunlight, ready to pitch to the shade, and the first pitch high and away, ball 1. It was remarkable, the old story of how a veteran pitcher can get by for a while by using his head and experience rather than his arm. The next pitch grounded to the right side. Gordon is up with it and makes the play. So Parra rolls out, 1 down, and the batter will be Aaron Hill. When Dan Harron went to the mound in his game against Trevor Cahill and the D-backs, Harron would be the first to tell you, boy, I didn't have anything. He gave up 3 runs, 6 hits. He was in trouble all the time in his first 5 innings. In fact, he had to have a great catch in center field in that game by Matt Kemp, leaving, among others, Chavez at second base, who had doubled. So Aaron Hill, who got the base hit last night to win the game, and he was talking about it before tonight's game, saying Gibby called it. Strike 1 pitch, pulled hard on the ground. Uribe stays with it, fires over the first, 2 down. You wonder about Adrian Gonzalez, because he is looking in the setting sun out there at first base. He has the sunglasses, but they're atop the bill. He didn't have to use them. Reminds us of a World Series game here in 1963. Joe Pepitone of the Yankees playing first base, and a big error, although understandably so. He couldn't handle a throw to first in the brilliant sunlight. Of course, it was then like 1 o'clock as opposed to this hour now. So at least if you're playing first base, you might be squinting in the sun, but you're going to pick the ball up. It's not going to be lost in the shirt sleeve crowd. Paul Goldschmidt, who's been on base either by walk or hit or error or something against the Dodgers in 41 of 49 games. Goldie waiting, the 1-0 pitch. He has a look and pays a strike, and the count 1-1. 2 down, first inning. We are just starting on a beautiful late afternoon, early evening, however you want to call it. And the 1-1 pitch, that is off the plate, ball 2. Jeff Nelson is the plate umpire in charge with the duties of balls and strikes. Jeff is a veteran, 16 years in the big leagues. Out of Minnesota. The 2-1 pitch on the way, and that's pulled foul outside of third, right by Glenn Sherlock. 2-1, now 2-2 the count as the ball boy came up with that one. When you talk to Jeff Nelson, the plate umpire, about a highlight moment, he worked the game when Ricky Henderson collected his 3,000th hit. Goldschmidt takes a strike, and down they go. 1, 2, 3. A lot of called strikes in last night's game. So the D-backs go 1, 2, 3, and now young Michael Bolsinger heading for the mound in his major league debut. No score. His last time against Arizona, he made 32 pitches in the first inning, 22 pitches in the second inning. Today, in the first inning, he made 9. We'll take a look now at the Dodger lineup, sent up there by Don Mattingly. You have D. Gordon leading off at second base, Carl Crawford in left field, Hanley Ramirez at short, Adrian Gonzalez with a 13-game hitting streak at first base. Matt Kemp is in center, Andre Ethier is in right, Juan Uribe at third. It's time for Drew Butera to catch and relieve Tim Fedorovich, and on the mound, Dan Herron. Well, we told you a little bit about Mike Bolsinger. He was born in Chicago and actually grew up a few blocks away from Wrigley Field. Then the family moved to McKinsey, Texas, and he's been there ever since. He was a big man on campus at the University of Arkansas, pitched for the championship ball club in the College World Series. Made a brief relief appearance in his debut against the Mets, and now his first major league start. With Gordon coming up there, they pull up the corners, and D takes a strike, and they count 0-1. Gordon came off the bench last night, hit a fly ball for an out as a pinch hitter. Batting .365 with a home run and 6 runs batted in. Prado and Goldschmidt are both on the grass. Full swing, little roll at a tricky bounce. Prado makes a wonderful play. The ball took a very tricky bounce. It veered to Prado's right, and Martin, a veteran, gloved it bare hand and got Gordon. Not as easy as it might sound, a little tapper to third. Fine play. It also brought back the wonderful play made last night by Miguel Montero on a little ball hit up along third. So Gordon taps out, 1 down, and Carl Crawford coming up. Crawford and Ethier in there against the right-hander. And Bolsinger now looking with Ramirez on deck. Right-handed delivers, and it is swung on, fouled away, and the count 0-1. Carl Crawford appeared last night as a pinch hitter, flied to right, flied to center, 0 for 2, stayed in the game. Hanley Ramirez on deck. Bolsinger, basically fastball pitcher. There's a ground ball to the right side, and Hill kicks it, recovers. That's the luxury of playing second base. You don't have to handle the ball cleanly all the time. You still have a short throw to make. Here's the way the D-backs stack up. The infield, Goldschmidt and Hill, Owings and Prado. The outfield of Trumbo, Parra, and Ross. Miguel Montero, as always, behind the plate, and Bolsinger on the mound. So Hanley Ramirez with 2 out, first inning, no score. Hanley had 1 hit last night, his last at bat in the 10th inning. So he wound up going 1 for 4. No score, 2 out, first inning, really just starting up. Bolsinger delivers, fastball, roll to the right side. That didn't take any time at all. So down goes Ramirez, and go the Dodgers. Just a short number of pitches, and at the end of an inning, no score. Tara, Hill, and Goldschmidt. And then young Mike Bolsinger went out and retired Gordon, Crawford, and Ramirez on a mere 5 pitchers. So into the second we go. Miguel Montero, Cody Ross, and Martin Prado. Montero last night walked and then hit a big home run in the 6th inning. He also made a marvelous play on a little nubber up along third base off the bat of Hanley Ramirez. So Montero, who's caught over 5,000 innings in the major leagues, good man to have behind the plate with a fellow like Bolsinger just beginning his major league career. So Montero waits. The first pitch to Mickey Herron delivers. That's in for a strike, and the count 0-1. You always wonder about a catcher and his former pitcher, how they can read each other's minds. We'll see how it plays out now. Strike one pitch. Montero looks, and that's low. Miguel Montero has caught over 5,090 innings and facing a man whom he caught for a couple of years. The next pitch, a check swing. They look at third. Swing, says Scott Barry. And the count 1-2. Miguel kind of smiles looking down at Barry. Yeah, Herron and Montero were a battery in 08, 9, and 10. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Miggy swings, doesn't get it. The pitch in the dirt, the tag at the plate. And Herron has his second strikeout in 4 batters. So 2 out in the first inning when he struck out Goldschmidt to end the inning. Now he begins the second with a strikeout of Montero, and that will bring up Cody Ross. Cody Ross had a bad hip, so he's been out for quite a while. Activated last night. Cody, after playing left field last night, playing right field today, and takes a pitch inside, ball 1. Ross last night in coming back went 0 for 5. He hit one ball very hard. Zach Greinke made a good play to throw him out. The pitch to Cody in there for a strike, 1-1. Talking about breaking in the right way, it certainly would be Cody Ross. His first major league home run, a grand slam. The 1-1 pitch is inside, 2-1 to count. Cody's had quite a career. He was originally signed by the Tigers, but the Dodgers got him after a brief time back in 2005. Cody swings right through a pitch in the count 2-2. And then he went from the Dodgers to the Marlins to the Giants to the Red Sox to the Diamondbacks. Cody's out of New Mexico. His father was quite an athlete, football player at the University of New Mexico. Cody swings at one down and away, and down he goes. So that's 3 consecutive strikeouts for Dan Herron. And with 2 out, the batter will be Martin Prado. So as we mentioned, the last time Herron pitched, he barely got through it. Being a smart pitcher, he got through it for enough to pick up a victory, 5 2/3 innings. In that brief time, he wound up striking out a couple, but here now he has struck out 3 in a row. So Martin Prado, third baseman, right-hand hitter, batting .247, and he has a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. Prado, good, solid third baseman. Last year even played a little bit of left field, but they traded to get Mark Trumbo to be out there. Strike one pitch on the way, swung on, hit in the air, shallow center. Gordon out, Kemp in, Kemp for the catch. So Herron has retired 6 in a row on a minimum number of pitches. 11 pitches in that inning, only 20 in his first 2 innings, and we have no score. Thursday at 7:10, the first 50,000 fans at the game will take home a mini Cy Young themed Kershaw bobblehead, compliments of Time Warner Cable. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Clayton, every time he goes to the bullpen, is a little more impressive. They're naturally in no hurry to rush him, but sooner or later we'll hear about him pitching a simulated game, and then after that they'll have him go out for a rehab, and then the Dodgers can expect him to get back and join the rotation. In the bottom of the second inning, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Kemp, and Andre Ethier against young Mike Bolsinger. Adrian has hit safely in 13 in a row, his career high 18 straight. Gonzalez, who had a great series against Arizona, but he would be the first to tell you that was then, now is now. And the first pitch, he has a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. Bolsinger, basically, they tell me, fastball slider with an occasional off-speed pitch. Right-hander turns on the rubber, and the strike one pitch, low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bolsinger started as a pro in 2010 and finally made it up here. 15th round pick out of the University of Arkansas. 1-1 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled off. The first young pitcher brought up in Bolsinger. There's another young pitcher down in the minors, Bradley, Archie Bradley. He might be the next one to come up because the starting pitchers for Arizona have really struggled. Coming into this series, Mike Harkey, the pitching coach, who once pitched for the Dodgers, very frustrated. The pitching staff's earned run average, the starters, 7.6. That'd be the worst in the major leagues. Meanwhile, Gonzalez takes high, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bolsinger, a little more on the first base side of the rubber, but not overly committed at all. 2-2 pitch coming up to Adrian, and he fouls it back. Borderline whether that pitch was in the strike zone or not. It was up. He got a little of it, fouled it back. Waiting on deck, Matt Kemp, and then Andre Ethier, and should anybody get on, Juan Uribe. Bolsinger is in shade. There's a little patch of sunlight in front of home plate. And the next pitch is a bad ball, and Adrian swings and misses. Because you say bad ball only because he swung and missed. He could at the same time hit a ball up and away like that and drive it into left field. But this time he came up empty. So strikeout number 1 from Bolsinger. And the batter now is Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp in last night's ball game started the game and then in a double switch came out. While he was in there, he had 1 hit. So Matt checking in with a 179 batting average, 3 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and he has a look at a strike and the count 0-1. So Bolsinger's already doing a lot better than his relief assignment against the New York Mets. Kemp waiting, 0-1 to Matt. He lays off a pitch for a strike, and he's in a hole now, 0-2. When Bolsinger made his major league debut Monday, he allowed 2 runs, 6 hits, and 2 walks. He did have 3 strikeouts, all of that in 3 innings. But he appears very calm as he comes back 0-2. Kemp rolls 1 foul. Didn't really have a good swing at it. And the count's still 0-2. For the Diamondbacks, you don't have to remind them it's a professional ball club run by Kirk Gibson. They are 6 games back, and they have played a total of 19 games. So this is number 20. 142 games left. I mean, the race has barely started. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way. Kemp looks, and it's low and inside, ball 1. The problem for Arizona, their first 18 games, they played only 3 games against a team that is below 500 for the month. And that's really important. The 1-2 pitch is taken, strike 3 called. So Kemp is caught looking. 2 strikeouts now for Bolsinger, and the batter will be Andre Ethier. in the first 18 games that the Diamondbacks have played against teams that were above 500. 15 of the 18 were against teams above 500, and their record was 3-12. So, if they have a shot and start play more games against weaker clubs, naturally they'll win more, and they become a factor. And you might say, well, what kind of a factor is that? And we give you a good case in point. Andre Ethier takes a strike. In 2012, the Cardinals played 12 more games against clubs with a record below 500 than the Dodgers was. And that was the difference. Strike one pitch, Ethier takes another strike, 0-2. It was the difference between the Cardinals going to the playoffs and the Dodgers staying home. If the 2012 Dodgers had played the same number of games against below 500 teams, the Dodgers would have won 7 more games and won and moved on. So it just depends on when you catch teams in the schedule. The Dodgers have already fattened up a bit earlier. They were 7-1 against teams, and then they lost last night. So Carl Crawford and company has had the schedule their way for a while as Ethier fouls it off. So you might keep that in mind as the season begins to unravel. If the Arizona starting staff improves, they're certainly going to be in a factor, along with Adrian Gonzalez and Dan Haren. Haren, by the way, has made 20 pitches in 2 innings, and as we mentioned earlier, he made 32 pitches in the first inning alone the last time he faced Arizona. In fact, he made 54 pitches in the first 2 innings against Arizona, and only 20 tonight. Ethier waiting, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Right-hander Bolsinger delivers, curveball rolled up the middle to his left. His shortstop Owings makes a fine play. So Chris Owings just seems to be getting better every time you see him. Makes a good play to catch up on the ground ball and throw Ethier out. And at the end of 2, as we take another look, Owings flashing behind the bag, whirls and finds first base. And at the end of 2, no score. From Anaheim, played great ball for the Angels and eventually traded here. Dodgers and the pitchers and the pitches to batters. The Dodger pitchers averaging a little more than 4 pitches per, and that's a little above the average. Milwaukee, Washington, and San Francisco are all the same. And first pitch is ball 1 to Trumbo. Mark Trumbo doesn't hit much, but he sure can hurt you with his swing. 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in. The 1-0 pitch, and that's in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Looking back when Herron pitched over in Arizona, Trumbo struck out 3 times in the game, but he also hit a home run. Fouls the pitch away. Trumbo hit the home run in the 7th inning. That would be against Jamie Wright. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Big Mark. Herron turns, ready. Here he comes, 1-2. It's swung on, ground ball up the middle. Ramirez can't get it. That's a base hit. So after retiring 6 in a row, Herron is touched up for a single by Trumbo. And the batter will be Chris Owens, who's really become a rather spectacular young fielding shortstop. Ramirez, playing more towards the hole, had no chance to go back to get it. And now here is Owens. Made a couple of dazzling plays already in the few games he has played against the Dodgers. Right-hand batter. Owens doing more than holding his own. He's batting .296. Herron ready, delivers. Owens bunts, slanting over his Uribe. Bare hands throws to get him. And down to second base goes Trumbo. So although Owens was bunting for a base hit, he was on the dead move. We assume they'll give him a sacrifice. And here comes Bolsinger with Trumbo at second and 1 away. Have no idea about whether Bolsinger can swing the bat. He had 1 at bat when he made his debut. So Owens gets a man into scoring position. Bolsinger, 0 for 1 in the big leagues, struck out. Herron ready and delivers, and the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. No score, top of the 3rd inning. Last 3 years, each time they have come here, Arizona has won 6 of 9. And there's a line drive into left field, base hit. Up with it is Crawford, but they're going to stop Trumbo at third. So Bolsinger will get the ball in his major league debut as a starting pitcher. He comes up with his first major league hit. So it's a single by Trumbo, the sacrifice by Owens, and the single by Bolsinger. So first and third, 1 out, and now Gerardo Parra coming up. In the minor leagues, doing some checking, Bolsinger hit 137 while he was in the minors, so he made contact once in a while. Here's Parra coming up, grounded out in the first inning. Herron leaning on his left knee, looks in, getting a sign. Now the right-hander ready and delivers. Parra, ground ball in the hole, plugged up by Gordon. They get 1, and that ball is dropped while in the act of throwing. So Hanley Ramirez in such a hurry to get the ball and make a throw, and he dropped it. And everybody is safe. You know, you don't talk about defense. We mentioned it last night. The Dodgers right now are not a good defensive team at all. Sometimes they will give the player the out, saying he dropped it while withdrawing it from the glove. There's no chance on that one. So it is 1-0 in favor of Arizona. It'll be an error charge to Hanley Ramirez. 2 on, and now you have Aaron Hill and Paul Goldschmidt coming up. So for the Dodgers, and this should be pointed out, the pitch of the plate is popped in the air, foul, out of play. Fastball alley, second deck directly behind home plate. 0-1 to Aaron Hill. The Dodgers are physically engaged in their 18th game. They have now made 18 errors. A good ball club certainly does not make an error per game. 0-1 to count to Aaron Hill. Grounded to third, first at bat. Takes one that misses, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. It is not only the errors, it's the plays you don't make. And of course, that was a classic example. not just an error. I mean, that could have been a double play ball and the inning, and no one scores. So a huge error, and the D-backs take the lead. Aaron ready and delivers high and inside. Did that get him? Yes, it did. Aaron Hill hit by the pitch, and all of a sudden now this inning becoming a little bit of a nightmare. A base hit by the opposing pitcher, a rookie, a big error by Ramirez on a double play ball. Now you have a hit batter, and here comes Paul Goldschmidt up there to try and cap a big game and a big inning. Bases are loaded, still one out, and again you say to yourself, if the Dodgers had made a routine double play, the inning would have been over. So Hill is hit by the pitch. Parr is now at second. Over at third is Bolsinger. And the batter is Paul Goldschmidt, probably the last guy the Dodgers want to see in this spot. Aaron ready, delivers, swung on, and pulled foul outside of third. 0-1. Goldie has 3 grand slams. Last year he hit one against Cincinnati. So Goldschmidt, with the bases loaded, hitting .286, and they are loaded with Bolsinger, Parra, and Hill out there. One out. Aaron at the belt, and the strike one pitch is hit into right field. Base hit. Charging Ethier. Here comes Bolsinger to score. There's a throw to shortstop, and Ramirez nails the second man, Hill. But 2 more runs are in. It's 3-0 in favor of Arizona. So the error at shortstop is a monstrous error. It could have been 3 outs and the inning is over. Instead, the D-backs now have jumped out to a 3-0 lead. Goldschmidt singles to right. That drives in 2. And then Hill, rounding second, is caught and tagged out by Hanley Ramirez. So 3-0 Arizona. Top of the third inning, and Miguel Montero, who struck out in the second inning, coming up. For Goldschmidt, a base hit. He has reached yet again. That means he's been on base against the Dodgers by hit or walk or whatever 42 of 50 games. So Aaron, who looked like he was sailing along, and instead the Dodgers miss a double play and he's down 3-0. The pitch to Montero is very high. What's the old story about for the want of a shoe, the horse is lost, for the want of the horse, the driver is lost, for the loss of the driver, the battle is lost. One small play can mean so much. 1-0 pitch on the way. That's whacked into right field down the line, rolling to the corner. Ethier is in pursuit. Goldschmidt's being waved in. Gordon is the relay man. The throw is not in time on a double by Montero, and all of a sudden it's a disaster here as Arizona leads 4-0. So Montero, a line drive double into the right field corner.
Coming to the plate, right fielder, Cody Ross.
So 4-0 Arizona, a meeting at the mound. Not much they can do about it. The 4 runs are in the bank, and Cody Ross will be coming up as Ethier runs down the double by Miguel Montero. So 4 runs, 4 hits, a huge error, and the Dodgers in trouble as Goldschmidt brings in the 4th run, wearing number 44. So Montero taking his lead at second. Aaron straightens up, set at the belt, looks and deals, and the first pitch is high. 1 ball and no strikes to Cody. Can't get over it, the fact, and we repeat it once in a while just because it's somewhat amazing. The 1-0 pitch to Cody Ross swung on, fouled away. Cody, as a little boy, did not want to be a ball player. He wanted to be a circus clown. And you know how tough a job that is. They turn those Brahma bulls loose. The clown runs around and maybe jumps inside a rubber barrel. But it's a scary job, but that's what he wanted. Of course, his father was in the rodeo. The 1-1 pitch on the way inside, ball 2, 2-1 the count. So for the Diamondbacks, they come to Dodger Stadium and they are accustomed to doing well here. They've won 19 of the last 28. and Gibby has them winning the first game last night, leading 4-0 today as Ross swings and doesn't get it, and they count 2-2. So Herron started off 6 in a row, striking out 3 of the 6. Then Trumbo singled, Owing sacrificed. The rookie pitcher Bolsinger singled, and then the big play involving Ramirez, what might have been a double play. Hanley dropped the throw from Gordon, and the next thing you know, it's a 4-run inning. The pitch swung on, foul back by Cody Ross. Martin Prado on deck. Cody's father was a football player at the University of New Mexico, but he also was in the steer wrestling events at a rodeo. So he's got a tough nut background. His father had 5 knee surgeries. Cody's had a bad hip, but he's right back here now. 2-2 to Cody Ross. Swung on, hit in the air to right. Going over to his left is Ethier to make the catch. And after 8 men come to the plate, the Dodgers finally get the 3rd out. And at the end of 2.5 innings, Arizona 4, Dodgers 0. Those 9 runs have come in the 3rd inning. If you really keep score, 1 of the runs charged as earned, and the other 3 because of the error. Herron has now made 41 pitches, and the Dodgers now will have Uribe, Butera, and Herron. And for young Mike Bolsinger, nice way to start off the game. He has had a strike 1 to all 6 players, so he's been challenging. It's not as if he's intimidated at all. Uribe, who hit the left field foul pole screen for a tying home run last night, checking in now with a 6-game hitting streak. And he'll be the first to test Bolsinger here in the 3rd inning. 4-0 Arizona. Uribe waiting, Bolsinger into the windup. First pitch is taken, and that's low, ball 1, so it's the first time he's missed. He has 2 strikeouts, and there was a splendid play made by Chris Owings behind him to get Ethier. The next one swung on and missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. 4 runs, 4 hits, no errors for the Diamondbacks. Nothing across for the Dodgers except a huge error. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Uribe lifts it foul off first down the line, well back into the crowd. Last night, Juan Uribe came up in the 9th inning. Dodgers down 2-1. And then you may remember, if you were with us, with 1 out, he hit the screen attached to the left field foul pole. Dodgers almost beat him to death in the dugout. I mean, he's a very popular guy, and they really react when he does something well. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way over his head. That evens the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bolsinger on a 2-2 count, checking in with his battery mate Miguel Montero. Right-hander ready, and the 2-2 pitch swung on and missed, and down goes Uribe. 3rd strikeout for Bolsinger. That means he has retired 7 in a row. One thing Bolsinger has learned to do, and that's pitch inside. That was a pitch up out of the strike zone, but inside, and it was swung on and missed. Bolsinger said he really didn't learn to throw inside until last year. In fact, Kevin Towers, in talking about his own pitching staff, he said the problem is the opposing hitters are much too comfortable. Now the batter is Butera. He looks at a strike. So he is the 8th batter, and the first pitch for a strike to 7 out of 8. 0-1 the count. Drew, right-hand hitter, bends at the knees, swings, doesn't get it. And Bolsinger has the count 0-2. Butera from Evansville, Indiana, but lives in Florida. Bolsinger, big right-hander at 6'3", comes right back 0-2, and that's taken just outside and high. 1-2 the count. Michael, Bolsinger, Bolsinger. Nods yes. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. And that's in there at the knees. That'll do it for Butera. So that's 4 strikeouts for Bolsinger, 4 of the last 5. And the batter is Dan Herron, a pretty good hitting pitcher. When Dan Herron was with the Diamondbacks back in 2010, he had a 4-for-4 game against the St. Louis Cardinals, a game that the Diamondbacks won 9-7 in Arizona. He takes ball 1. Dan won that ball game despite allowing 7 runs in 6 innings. The record, by the way, for a pitcher, a number of hits in one game, the Yankees' Mel Stottlemyre had a 5-hit game when he was a rookie for the Yankees in 1964. Mel Stottlemyre Jr. is the Diamondbacks bullpen coach. Herron takes a strike, and they count 2-1. 4-0 Arizona. We're in the 3rd. Here comes Bolsinger with a pitch that is a little low, and he's fallen behind 3-1. Bolsinger ready, and his 3-1 pitch to Herron taken for a strike, and we go all the way. Nothing like 4 runs early to help a rookie in his debut as a starting pitcher. Dee Gordon is on deck. 3-2 the count. Here comes the pitch. It is low, ball 4. So after retiring 8 in a row, Bolsinger, who knows Herron's a good hitting pitcher, goes 3-2 and walks him. So now for the first time today, Bolsinger will pitch out of a stretch, and Dee Gordon will check in. Dee Gordon with a home run, 6 RBIs. He has 10 stolen bases. The Dodgers lead the major leagues, 20 stolen bases, and Dee has 10 of them. So Gordon, left-hand hitter, checks in. Bolsinger delivers. The pitch in for a strike. So that first pitch is almost automatic from Bolsinger. Gordon, fresh from a 3-hit game Wednesday. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way. Dee has a look and pays another strike. And the count is 0-2. So Herron at first, Goldsmith saying, do you want me to hold him on? And he's still at the bag. Again, Bolsinger out of a stretch. Strike 2 pitch on the way to Dee Gordon. Bolsinger delivers, a little punched foul outside of third. Gordon just topped the ball up along third in the very first inning. And Martin Prado made a fine running grab and throw all in one motion to throw him out by quite a bit, considering Gordon's speed. Bolsinger ready. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way, very high and outside. Ball 1. 1-2 the count. Waiting on deck, Carl Crawford. Dodgers are second in the National League in extra base hits. They have 58 extra base hits. You know, has more? Colorado, and they will be here on the 25th, 26th, and 27th. There's a base hit into left field from Gordon on a 1-2 pitch. Aaron stops at second. So the only way you can prevent Gordon from trying to steal is to have somebody in front of him, and in this instance, it's Dan Haren. So Carl Crawford coming up with 2 on, 2 out, third inning, 4-0 in favor of Arizona. Crawford a look at Bundy before he gets in. Carl grounded out to the right side to Aaron Hill. Flied to right field last night as a pinch hitter. So 0 for 2 in the series. Struggling, hitting just .229. Bolsinger ready, and the pitch is taken high. A breaking ball that stayed up, 78 miles an hour. He has doubled his pitches in the inning. Bolsinger had made 21 in the first 2 innings. He's made 21 here, and the pitch swung on and fouled away. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Arizona got off to a bad start, 4-14. There were worse starts. Back in 2002, Detroit started 3-15. Baltimore went 2-16 in 2010, and Detroit won the crown as the pitch fouled away. In 2003, Detroit began the year 1-17. So that meant in 2 seasons, Detroit started the games winning 4 and losing 32. So Gibby just has to look at the history book, talk to his players, and let them know it doesn't mean a thing. Crawford, by the way, does mean a thing. He's only 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. That's a batting average of less than 100. The 1-2 pitch on the way to Carl, and that's taken a little high. 2-2. So deuce is wild here. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. Dodgers down 4-0, and Hanley Ramirez on deck. So the runners, Haren at second, Gordon at first, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count to Crawford. Here's the pitch from Bolsinger, and that's fouled away. So the fastball at 89, and the count stays 2-2. 46 pitches now, so that means he made 25 pitches here in the third inning after making a total of only 21 in the first 2 innings. Crawford waits. Bolsinger checks. Now the right-hander out of a stretch. Another look at second. Back to Crawford on the inside corner. Strike 3 called. So Bolsinger pitches his way out of the jam. Comes up with his 5th strikeout. No runs, a hit, 2 left at the end of 3. 4-0 Arizona. yet. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. Beautiful day for sailing, beautiful day to be almost anywhere in Southern California. Arizona thinks it's a beautiful day. They're leading 4-0. Hanley Ramirez had trouble handling the throw, and while taking the ball out of his glove, he dropped it. So now when he takes the field in the 4th inning, he has changed gloves. So we'll see what that will mean as Hanley sets in defensively. And here come the D-backs. And they'll start it off with Martin Prado. And ball 1. Prado flied to center in the 2nd inning, 0 for 1, hitting .243. One 0 pitch on the way. And that's low. 2-0 to count. Concluding game of the series tomorrow, Josh Colmenter and Josh Beckett. Colmenter basically a reliever, but they're making a starting pitcher out of him. The pitch is swung on, fouled away. Dodgers last year had some success against Colmenter in relief. Josh Colmenter, I think this is right, gave up 6 home runs last year, 4 of them to the Dodgers, as Prado fouls another one away. So Martin Prado, then Trumbo and Owings. We're in the 4th inning. Arizona leads 4-0. 2-2 pitch on the way. Fouled away again. Prado just did get a little bit of that. So Dan Herron made 9 pitches in the 1st inning, 11 pitches in the 2nd inning, and then because of the error made 21 pitches and gave up 4 runs. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball, but he misses. Every time we have seen an Asian pitcher, whether he's from South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, you name it, they all hesitate in their delivery. 3-2 pitch, slapped down the right field line. That's going to go foul. Herron is one of the rare big league pitchers who pauses always in his delivery. Just as he brings that left leg up, he'll just hang there for a split second. You don't see too many pitchers doing that, but he's been doing it for many, many years. There's the pause, and the 3-2 pitch is hit to center, going back on it is Kemp. It's over his head. He reaches up and backhands it on the run. Fine play by Matt Kemp on a long fly ball off the bat of Martin Prado. Boy, they're amazing. They turn their back, go, and then just reach up and pluck it out of the air. Not concerned about the wall, but you know they took one quick look, and the warning track lets them know they're in dangerous real estate area. In the old days, I know in Ebbets Field, the warning track was not finely ground brick dust or a rubberized whatever. It was gravel. I mean, you could hear the fact that you were getting close to a concrete wall. Mark Trumbo, a strike, and the count 0-1. Trumbo single, sacrificed to second, went to third on a base hit, scored on Hanley Ramirez error. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mark. Trumbo learning to play the outfield, although it should be duly noted he had a stretch with the Angels where he had 5 different positions in 5 games. A strike. In other words, if you want to call DH a position, it was a position on the bench. But he also played first base, played third base, played left field, played right field. All in a 5-day stretch. 1-2 pitch. Taken, strike 3 called. So Herron picks up his 4th strikeout. And with 2 down, the batter will be the shortstop, Chris Owings. Big crowd on hand on a gorgeous 5 o'clock afternoon. They are here. You had a nice crowd last night 47,680. Looks about more than that today. So here's Owings, sacrificed in the third. Looks at a strike. Seemed a little strange. A leadoff single and then Owings sacrificing with the pitcher coming up. But Bolsinger, in his first major league at bat, came up with a base hit. Wasn't his first at bat. When he relieved, he had an at bat and struck out. 1-1 to Chris Owings. 4-0 Arizona, fourth inning. Fouled at the plate. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of this fourth inning, it'll be Ramirez, Gonzalez, and Kemp. And if anybody gets on, Ethier. One ball, two strikes. Fastball, he went after it and slapped it into center. So Owings, when the ball is, let's say, leisurely picked up, he is in there. So he turns a base hit into a double, and the batter will be Bolsinger. Owings going across the plate to whack it into center field. Matt Kemp moving to his left, kind of let the ball come to him, and that's all he needed. Owings, who is a good ball player, turns a single into a double and embarrasses Matt Kemp a little bit. So here's Bolsinger. Fastball missing, ball one. One and one to count. So a heads up play by Chris Owings puts a runner in scoring position with two out. Arizona leads 4-0, looking for another. This will be the 60th pitch for Herron. 1-2. Bolsinger single left in the third inning. That loaded the bases. And down he goes. So no runs, one hit, 5 strikeouts for Herron. And at the end of 3.5 innings, it's 4-0 Arizona. Sunday, April 27th. The first 15,000 ticketed kids 14 and under in attendance take home their own Hanley Ramirez replica batting jersey presented by Time Warner Cable. For tickets, be sure to visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Bottom of the fourth inning, Hanley Ramirez will lead it off, then Adrian Gonzalez and Matt Kemp. Ramirez grounded out in the first inning, 0 for 1. Hit on the back of the left hand in the Giants series, missed one game and then came right back. Hitting .274, 2 home runs, 7 runs batted in. And ball 1. 4 runs, 5 hits for Arizona. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error for the Dodgers. Dodger hit, single to left by D. Gordon. Ground ball to the hole, but plugging it up is Prado and throws him out easily. 1 down. Now the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. He has a 13-game hitting streak, and to repeat, the longest streak in his career. He had an 18-game streak. When you start talking about streaks, 13 games, 18 games, and you realize Joe DiMaggio, 56 games, he came up with a base hit. Unbelievable. Hit foul off third, down the line, out of play. It was back in June of 2012 into July when Adrian had that 18-game hitting streak. He's had 27 home runs and 87 runs batted in against Arizona. 1-1. So he leads active players in his career against the D-backs, just ahead of Matt Kemp, who has 24 home runs, 68 runs batted in. Popped in the air foul, out of play, 1-2. Andre Ethier has 16 home runs against Arizona, and Juan Uribe hit his 17th against them last night. Meanwhile, young Bolsinger walking on the grass behind the mound. Not a care in the world, leading 4-0. 1-2. 2-2, fastball. He's not that hard a thrower, 87, 88. We haven't seen him go much more than that. Breaking ball on the hands, little dunker to center. It's going to fall, smothered out there by Parra. So that keeps it alive. Adrian now has hit safely in 14 straight. So Parra gave it his best shot, couldn't catch up to it. That is the second hit by the Dodgers. And the batter now, Matt Kemp, who struck out in the second inning. Parra, as usual, diving, giving it his best shot. So Adrian aboard, and the Dodgers trying to build from that flare to center with Kemp and Ethier and Uribe. And we've mentioned they're the chief tormentors against Arizona pitching. 0-1, off speed, high 70s. (0-1). Matt probably a little embarrassed when Owings changed a single to center into a double. 0-1. Off speed, up and in at 77. Just a changeup that got away. I don't think he's been there yet, but he was born in Chicago, was Bolsinger, and grew up just a couple of blocks away from Wrigley Field. Breaking ball whacked to center, base hit. Dodgers now have 2 on, 1 out as they try to come back. And Andre Ethier coming up. So with 1 out, singles by Gonzalez and Kemp, who got a breaking ball and just muscled that thing for a hit. Dodgers now with 3 hits, nothing to show for it. They have Gonzalez at second, Kemp at first, and Andre Ethier the batter. Ethier robbed of a play, hit a ground ball up the middle. It wasn't hit hard enough to get through. And Chris Owings doing a great job of catching up to it, sliding and then turning like he's on an invisible turntable. And he came up and threw him out. Ethier 0 for 2 last night. Fouls it away. 0-1. Juan Uribe on deck. 1 out in the 4th. 4-0 Arizona. They got all 4 back in the 3rd inning. Dodgers have not recovered yet. Fastball and a high fly ball to right. Back goes Ross through the wall. Gone. So Andre Ethier gets the Dodgers back in the game. That'd be the 17th home run he has hit against Arizona pitching. He now has 81 RBIs in his career against Arizona. Towering fly ball into the sunshine in the seats in right field, with Gonzalez and Kemp scoring ahead of him. And the Dodgers now back in the game. It's 4-3 Arizona, and the batter will be Juan Uribe. So Ethier, a big home run with 2 aboard. Mike Harkey, who pitched for the Dodgers back in 1997. Big man at 6'5", going out trying to comfort the young bull singer. Ethier puts the helmet away, and he gets the Dodgers to within 1. And here's Juan Uribe. The bull singer roughed up for a 3-run home run, still only 1 out. Uribe struck out in the 3rd inning, and he pops one in the air. It'll be the shortstop Owings calling and waiting, and makes the catch. 2 out here in the 4th inning. Drew Butera, the Dodger catcher, coming up. Bolsinger trying to recover from that 3-run blast by Andre Ethier. Gonzalez singles, a hit in 14 straight, then Kemp singles, then Ethier lowers the boom. Ethier having something to say to Juan Uribe. Uribe went up, swung at the first pitch. Fastball, and that's whacked to left field. Going back is Trumbo to the track at the wall. Makes a fine backhanded catch. So Mark Trumbo, learning to play left field on a daily basis, shows he's learning well, making a wonderful running catch to backhand the ball, especially here at home for the Dodgers. But Ethier's the blast. 3-run dinger, and at the end of 4, it's 4-3 Arizona. Don't forget, Dodger Stadium movie series kicks off Saturday, April the 26th after the game with the Rockies. The movie Field of Dreams. For tickets and more information, visit Dodgers.com/movies today. Top of the order, Parra, Hill, and Goldschmidt. Herron back in the ball game. Dodgers trailing by 1. And a strike, 0-1. Parra grounded to second and did the same thing in the third, and that's when Gordon's throw to Ramirez and Hanley dropped it. Pokes one, a hopper that gets away from Uribe. He acted startled that the ball was hit at him, though we will see how that is scored. Remember, the Dodgers have already made 18 errors in 18 games. And it's going to be a boot.
Second baseman, number 2.
So the Dodgers have now made 19 errors in 18 games. Leadoff error, and immediately Herron is in some trouble. Second Dodger error today. Hill grounded to third, hit by a pitch, and hits it foul over the head of third base coach Glenn Sherlock. Well, they just won't do what I begged them to do for years. I begged them to wear helmets, but I also begged them to wear a helmet like a ball player. In other words, he should have the earpiece covering the right ear. So, yeah, the helmet's okay. That is if you drop an object from the sky. But they still need the protection, but they won't do it. Must be some macho thing. I mean, why the heck would you argue about it? 0-1 to count to Aaron Hill. Time. When Joe Amalfitano was here, Joey coached third. They didn't have helmets for coaches, but Joey wore the inner lining that had been worn by Willie Mays in all the years that he played. And that's popped in the air. Going out is Ramirez circling, and he's there. However, instead of 2 out, bases empty, 1 out, runner on, and big Goldschmidt coming up.
Number 44, Paul Goldschmidt.
Goldschmidt struck out in the first inning and singled to right in the third. Drove in a couple, and then he himself came around to score. Goldie hitting .325. Talking about the big numbers, Andre Gonzalez, Adrian has piled up a lot. Andre Ethier has the 3-run home run today. Goldschmidt, tormenting the Dodgers, has been on base now 42 of 50 games against the Dodgers. He's also hit safely in 10 of his last 12. 1 ball and 1 strike. Goldschmidt had an incredible year last year. He was second in the MVP voting. 1-1. Ground ball hard. Ramirez to Gordon. Gordon turns it, and they get the double play. Good turn by Gordon because Parra was right there on top of him. 6-4-3 DP, and at the end of 4.5, as we look at it again, it's 4-3 Arizona. World Championship ring. Those of us fortunate to have been around have one. Now I ever tell you the story about Tommy Lasorda's wife? What happened was when Peter O'Malley gave out the '88 ring, he gave me one, and he said, I guess you have them all. And I said, no, I don't. He said, why don't you have them all? I said, I don't have the 1955 ring. They were only given out to people who were in uniform. 0-1 to Dan Herron. And Peter said, oh, darn. And Joe Lasorda went to Mass one day, and when she came out, a man came over and said, aren't you Tommy Lasorda's wife? And she said, yes. He said, well, I'm from Brooklyn. Oh, she said, that's great. He said, not only that, he said, I worked for X&X, the company that made the 1955 championship ring. Joe said, no. Fella said, honest. Not only that, he said, I still have the mold. Joe said, I can't believe it. The man said, well, I do. I have it at home. So Joe Lasorda called Peter O'Malley, said, believe it or not, this happened. This man, this is his number. He has the mold. That's going to be hit into right center. Base hit, so turnabout is fair play. As Herron singles after Bolsinger had singled in the third inning. Well, anyway, Peter O'Malley then called the man, and he had 2 rings made. One for Tommy Lasorda and one for me. So, thanks to Peter, I have them all. Or at least my 3 sons have half of them. Gordon robbed of a hit. Fine play by Prado in the first inning, then slapped a single to left in the third. Herron at first, nobody out. So the Dodgers suddenly 4 hits in the last 1 inning plus. Gordon pulls it into right field, base hit. Herron will go to second and stop. So Bolsinger had retired 6, 7, 8 in a row. Then he walked Herron, and Gordon got a base hit, but then he struck out his 5th man. Then in the 4th inning, the Dodgers roughed him up. 2 singles and a home run by Ethier. Now back-to-back singles by Herron and Gordon. Dodgers have the tying and go-ahead runs out there. D. Gordon is 2 for 3. And here's Crawford, who is really struggling, 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. So Bolsinger had to fight his way out of a jam in the 4th inning, and he's now right back in the hot water in the 5th. Ground ball to the hole, base hit. They're not going to send Herron in, you can bet. So the bases are loaded with nobody out. Singles by Herron to center, Gordon to right, Crawford to right, and here comes Hanley Ramirez. Arizona 4 runs, 5 hits. The Dodgers 3 runs, 7 hits. No throwing yet, but they're beginning to stretch and swing their arms around in the Arizona bullpen. Hanley Ramirez, in case you wonder, has 5 grand slams. The last one, most recently, 2011 in Texas. Bases loaded, nobody out. Off speed and high, ball 1. So Herron singles to center, Crawford to right, Gordon to right. Bolsinger on the ropes right now with nobody out. And Ramirez, Gonzalez, and Kemp. That got the corner. 1-1 to Hanley. Herron, Gordon, Crawford, all out there. Nobody out. Backs him and gets the inside corner. 1-2. Dodgers, of course, have the speedster in a go-ahead run at Gordon at second base. One and two to Hanley Ramirez. Hanley 2 home runs, 7 runs batted in. And a little low. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Fastball. I don't believe Bull Singer has hit 90 on a fastball. 88, 89. He's being backed up now by the left-hander Oliver Perez because of Gonzalez on deck. 2-2. Swung on, whacked down the line, foul. So Hanley hits it hard, misses the chalk by a couple of feet, and he'll have to come by and try it again. Long, loud foul. That easily scores 2 and puts the Dodgers in front had it been fair. The Bolsinger dodged one that time, and the count 2 balls, 2 strikes. Aaron, Gordon, Crawford all out there and nobody out. Fastball hit foul off first. That'll go well back into the crowd. Dodgers in the 4th inning had singles by Gonzalez and Kemp, and then Ethier hit a home run. Now in the 5th inning, 3 consecutive singles to load them up. Arizona led 4-0. Now it's 4-3. Breaking ball pulled at third. A juggle, a drop by Prado. Everybody is safe. And the Dodgers have tied it up. Prado had a double play ball, and in his haste, he wound up dropping the ball. A huge error. So Herron scores to tie it up, and everybody moves up 90 feet. So the Dodgers still have the bases loaded. Trying to find the handle, couldn't do it. So Prado drawing a huge error on a ball hit by Hanley Ramirez, who already had his own problems defensively. And I think that's going to do it up for Bolsinger. So it was quite a day. He made his major league debut as a starter. He got his first major league hit. He scored his first major league run, and he has blown a 4-0 lead, and he's gone. We'll be back. inning. 3 singles, an error by a usually reliable third baseman, and he has to give way to Oliver Perez. Perez is from Culiacan in Mexico. He was originally signed by San Diego in 1999. He is 33 years old come the middle of August, 6'3" and 210, and the youngest of 5 children whose parents were educators. They grew up watching and idolizing Fernando Valenzuela, and Perez adopted a little bit of Fernando in the sense he'll look up to the heavens a lot before making a pitch. Another favorite of his was Randy Johnson. So he picked 2 great left-hand pitchers. Adrian Gonzalez will be the batter. Bases are still loaded. Gordon, Crawford, and Ramirez out there. Nobody out. 1 run in. Dodgers have tied it up. And in at the knuckles, ball 1. Almost hit him. Adrian Gonzalez is just 1 for 11 against Oliver Perez. Adrian already got the base hit in the 4th inning, so he's hit safely in 14 straight. Fastball, 1 hopper into right field. In comes Gordon. Here comes Crawford over to third base on the throw safely when it gets away from Parra, and down to second base goes Gonzalez. And the Dodgers have scored 3 and lead 6-4. So Adrian Gonzalez delivers again against a fellow who had him just 1 for 11 down at the knees, and he drilled it into right field. Cody Ross's throw is cut off by Goldschmidt. The throw on a bounce got away from Prado. That kept Ramirez safe at third, and it allowed Gonzalez to go to second. And the Dodgers now have scored 3 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, and they lead 6-4. And the batter is Matt Kemp with first base open. Fastball hit just fair. Inside third, down the line. 2-run score. Matt going to second base, jogging in, then slides at the minute. It's a 5-run inning, and the Dodgers lead 8-4. On the base hit to right field by Gonzalez. The throw, which was on a hop to third, they're going to give Paul Goldschmidt an error for making it an even tougher play for Prado. So the Dodgers now have scored 8 times in 1 inning plus. Remember, there isn't anybody out here in the 5th inning. And Andre Ethier with Kemp at second base. Dodgers today have a home run and now a double by Kemp, so that gives them 60 extra base hits already this year. 60. That would put him number 2 back of Colorado. Ethier, meanwhile, talking to the plate umpire, 0-1 the count. Down in the bullpen, Trevor Cahill, who pitched briefly last night. He pitched the 12th inning. Cahill is warming up. 8-4 Dodgers. Kemp at second, still nobody out. Ethier way out in front of that. 0-2. So Oliver Perez brought in to face Gonzalez, and he's given up a single and a double. Adrian all smiles. 2 hits today, 2 RBIs, all frowns. Kirk Gibson. Breaking ball takes care. Well, yep. Ethier strikes out. That's the first out, and it'll bring up Juan Uribe. So Dan Herron is riding an emotional elevator. Started off great, retired 6 in a row. All of a sudden, 4 runs charged against him in the third, and the Dodgers now have gotten back to give him a 4-run lead, 8-4. So Uribe trying to pick up Matt Kemp with 1 out. In the dirt, blocked by Montero, holding his Kemp. Eight runs, 9 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. 4 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors by the Diamondbacks. Uribe has struck out and popped up, but that was against Bolsinger. There goes Kemp to third. Montero's throw on a bounce, not in time. He's stolen it. Perez just about went into a windup. So Matt Kemp steals third. The left-hander, I don't know if he forgot about Matt, deep in concentration, working on Uribe. But Kemp had the door open, so he promptly stole it. For the Dodgers, their 21st stolen base. Last we checked, they were number 1 in the major leagues. So that makes the infield have to come up. 1 ball, 1 strike to Uribe, 1 out, runner at third. High foul that should curl and go well back into the crowd. And it does. 1-2 to Juan Uribe. What an inning. Herron opened up with a single to center. Gordon single to right. Crawford single to load the bases. Ramirez ground ball was juggled and dropped. It would have been a double play ball, but Prado couldn't make the play. So Herron scored to tie up the game. That was off of Bolsinger. And they've had a single and a double against Perez. 1-2. So for Bolsinger, kind of a heartbreaking inning. I mean, who knows if Prado makes the double play, a run would have scored, but he still might have been in there. Prado, usually very reliable, unable to make the play, and the Dodgers have taken advantage and lead 8-4, just as the D-backs took advantage of Ramirez's error. 2-2. That's a lot of delivery for Oliver Perez. He is 6'3". He really raises that right leg, swings his upper torso. That's why Kemp stole third on him so easily. This time he doesn't raise it, and it's fouled away. 2-2 the count. Of course, Oliver Perez has been pitching professionally since 2001, and he's been with a lot of teams. The Pirates and the Mets, the Mariners, D-backs. 2-2. There's that high leg kick, and there's a base hit to center, I think. It's caught indeed, and Kemp holds up. That ball was hit hard to Parra, and he got a good throw off. You know, Parra has 55 assists. Great arm. And the ball hit too hard to actually pick up Kemp. The catch, and then he just guns it in. Perfect throw, cut off by, of all people, the pitcher. So Uribe, a line drive out to center. And the batter now, Drew Butera. Kemp, who doubled, stole third, still there. Perez raising that right leg. So if you're at first or even second, that's a big invitation. He's varied it with Uribe. Made 2 pitches where he did the the glide step. There's that high kick, turns his back too. Wow. 1 ball, 1 strike. I can't help but think somebody like Jackie Robinson, who stole home 19 times. Jackie would see that and he would be doubly dangerous at third. See if he does that same move again. High leg. Yeah, that'll do it for Butera. However, the Dodgers put a high 5 on the scoreboard, and at the end of 5, Dodgers 8, Arizona 4. Adrian Gonzalez, a key base hit to get it really going, and then Kemp double to seal the deal. On this very day, they played at Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City. That had been the minor league home of the New York Giants. And the Dodgers played Philadelphia. They won the ball game. Carl Erskine relieved by Clem Labine. Scoring fly ball by Rube Walker to score Don Zimmer with the winning run. Oh, and Roy Campanella got his 1,000th hit. Let's go back to this one. Aaron gets a strike. 0-1 the count to Miguel Montero. 8-4 Dodgers. We're in the 6th inning. Off speed pitch just floats in there. Montero struck out and doubled. No balls, 2 strikes. Just missed outside. Montero 1 for 2. Little ground ball to the right side. Gordon almost threw it away. Nice play by Adrian. Boy, when you play first base, you think of short hopping with the hands, but you really play that position with your feet. And you have to adjust, and at the last second, according to the direction of the throw and who made the throw. So here's Cody Ross, struck out, fly to right, 0 for 2. 8 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 5 hits for the D-backs, 4 errors, 2 on either side. Ball 1. Goldschmidt and Prado, Uribe and Ramirez. And that's pulled foul down the line. Martin Prado on deck. He's hit 2 fly balls to center. 1-1 to Cody. And that's sliced down the right field line, curling foul back into the stands. Cody Ross suffered from a dislocated right hip. He was on the DL, played 9 games in the minor leagues in Reno to get ready to come back. Last year, played in 94 games for Arizona, hit a solid .278. Hard ground ball on the rim is Gordon. 2 down. And the batter, Martin Prado. 2 fly balls to center.
Third baseman number 14, Martin Prado.
Prado hitting .240. Prado off to a very slow start. He hit .282 last year, and he hit .301 the year before for the Atlanta Braves. And he promptly pulls it into left field for a base hit. So Crawford gets it back in. A 2-out single will bring up Mark Trumbo.
Coming to the plate, number 15, Mark Trumbo.
Trumbo singled to center and struck out. Mark 1 for 2. Trumbo is 6'4", 230. Born in Anaheim, lives in Orange. Graduate of Villa Park High School. The Angels picked him 18th round back in 2004. And that's ball 1. He's improved with the bat and with the power each year. 29 home runs, 87 RBIs. Next year, 32 home runs, 95 RBIs. Last year, 34 home runs, 100 RBIs. When he was in high school at Villa Park, he pitched, played first base. They say when they put the gun on him, he would go anywhere from 91 to 97. That's a strike. 2-1. Mark was going to go to SC. His dad, a huge SC fan, but the Angels made one of those offers he could not refuse. 2-1. Fastball in. Trumbo only 28 years old. Most scouts, including the Angels, were so impressed by his arm, they were scouting him as a pitcher. 3-2. Then the more they watched him, the more excited they got about his bat. They eventually signed him as a first baseman and third baseman. So 3-2 to Mark. 2 down, 2 out. Prado ready to go from first. And the pitch is popped up, and I mean a big league pop foul. Butera and Gonzalez. Butera. Boy, that thing really went up there. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. At the end of 5.5 innings, 8-4 Dodgers. 8-4, favor of Dodgers. Bottom of the 6th inning. Trevor Cahill, who pitched 1 inning last night, he pitched the 12th inning, only made 11 pitches, so they bring him right back. As we go into the bottom of the 6th inning, the Dodgers down 4-0, have turned it around completely, and it was Dan Haren who's been doing it. Dan walked, and then in the 5th inning singled to get the team going. Trevor Cahill is 0-4 as a starting pitcher. The Diamondbacks have an awful lot of money invested in Trevor, so they've sent him to the bullpen hoping he can work things out. Little ground ball. Aaron Hill will throw out the jogging Dan Haren, 1 away. That'll bring up Gordon. You know, when Adrian Gonzalez was hitting, and he has 2 hits today, he's hit safely in 14 straight. And I mentioned Joe DiMaggio and his 56-game hitting streak. And so to put the two together, Adrian Gonzalez has done well. He was hitting .333 during his streak, and of course it's still alive. But that made me think more and more about Joe DiMaggio, how incredible a player he was. That's ball 1. First of all, when Joe DiMaggio hit in 56 straight games, he hit .408 during that streak. .408. And then when the streak ended on the 17th of July, Joe turned right around and hit safely in 17 more. So that means he hit safely in 72 of 73 games. I mean, it's incredible. And, of course, maybe the most remarkable thing about Joe D. I mean, we have players who strike out during the national anthem now. Joe D. in 1941, the year of his great streak, he struck out, are you ready, 13 times. 622 plate appearances, and he strikes out 13 times. During the 56-game hitting streak, Joe DiMaggio struck out 5 times. Unreal. The greatest player who ever played has to be Babe Ruth. But there have been some great hitters along the way, including the great Rogers Hornsby, and don't forget Joe D. Gordon lines out to Hill. 2 down in the 6th inning. The batter is Crawford. Kirk Gibson's picture on the wall from that magnificent moment when he hit the home run in 1988. Gibby, I'm sure, will keep that in his memory bank forever and then some. Yep, we all will think of 88. 0-1 to count. Of course, when you think of DiMaggio, that was probably the greatest single moment in 1941, and we were all brought to our knees on December the 7th. 1-1 the count to Carl Crawford. 8 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. 4 runs, 6 hits for Arizona. Concluding game tomorrow, Josh Colemeter and Josh Beckett, and I'm not joshing. Little ground ball to first. That'll be that. Dodgers go quickly against Cahill. 6 innings in the books, and at the end of 6, 8-4 Dodgers.
The Dodger Stadium series will kick off Saturday, April 26th, when after the game against the Rockies, fans can enjoy the movie
series. The calendar shows one more tomorrow with the D-backs, then 4 night games Monday through Thursday with the Phillies, followed by the closing series of the homestand Friday, Saturday, Sunday with the Colorado Rockies. By the way, they're talking about the return of Cole Hamels to join the Philadelphia staff, so they could be right on the money when they arrive here at full strength. Dan Herron ready to work the 7th. Chris Owings, then Trevor Cahill, followed by Gerardo Parra. Ball 1. Owings sacrificed and doubled. 1 ball, now 2. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Jamie Wright begins to loosen up. Popped in the air, the play on the left side, it's Uribe. So Owings pops it up, 1 away. Trevor Cahill isn't a bad hitting pitcher. So far this year, Cahill 1 for 5, including a double. He has struck out once. Cahill's from Oceanside, born down there, lives down there, went to Vista High School in San Diego. We mention it, and it's a good thing to pass along to the kids. He's not just some big athlete. He's more than that. 4.6 grade point average when he graduated high school. 5th in a class of 650 students. And he scored 1,950 out of 2,400 on his SATs. He was going to go to Dartmouth and then got the big baseball contract. Holds up. Did he? No, he didn't. He originally signed with the Oakland A's. Had his best year with the A's in 2011. He won 18 games. Rolls it up the middle. Hanley has to play it sideways and throws him out. That was a tricky ground ball. And Ramirez able to cover it, and we have 2 down. Take another look. Sideways, turning his back, really, staying with it. Then reaching into that second glove that he's decided to play with. Throws his man out. So Gerardo Parra coming up. Parra has been on base twice on 2 errors by Ramirez and Uribe. Gerardo 0 for 3. Did manage to score a run. Little roller. Herron comes down to get it. That'll be that. So a very nice inning for Dan Herron. 1, 2, 3. Not a ball hit out of the infield. And at the end of 6.5, it's 8-4 Dodgers.
Presented by Coca-Cola and led by Nancy B. Please rise.
Bottom of the 7th inning with the Dodgers sitting on top of an 8-4 lead. Dan without a hair in place or out of place. Breezing along nicely and sitting on a 4-run lead. Along with his catcher, Drew Butera. And for the Dodgers, Ramirez, Gonzalez, and Kemp. Dan Herron, by the way, made only 9 pitches, though his pitch count up to 93. He's had only one spot of 2 innings. Herron made 21 pitches in the 3rd, 20 pitches in the 4th. Otherwise, he's breezed along. Hanley Ramirez with the bat, grounded out twice, reached on an error. Ground ball, foul. 0-2. Hanley's ground ball was a big one, just as he was involved in a missed double play, and that cost the Dodgers. Martin Prado missed the double play on the ball that Hanley hit, and that turned it into a 5-run inning. 0-2. Slider, 1-2. Cahill, when they study his background, and I'm sure they do, he's usually very slow in the month of April, starts to get better in May, and then really improves in June. Fastball, 2-2. Hanley hitting .286, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. Got him. Fastball. Though Ramirez strikes out, Cahill nails him for 1 out. Hanley now goes 0 for 4. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez 2 for 3. Had the big base hit against Oliver Perez, whom they brought him in especially to get him, and instead Adrian singled to right field. 2 for 3. He has scored 2. He has knocked in a couple, and he has hit 14 straight. To repeat, his career, his longest streak of 18. 0-1. Oh, and 2. If you weren't with us earlier, D-backs scored 4 times. That was in the 3rd inning to lead 4-0. The Dodgers came back with 3 runs in the bottom of the 4th for Dan Herron and 5 more in the 5th. They give him the lead, Chase Bolsinger, and we're now in the 7th inning with 1 out. Adrian, a towering fly ball. Parra is there. So 2 out in the 7th inning, and the batter will be Matt Kemp. Hope you can be with us tomorrow if possible. Spend part of Easter Sunday with us. Josh Colmentor and Josh Beckett. Matt Kemp struck out, single to center, doubled and stole 3rd. So Matt scored 1, 2 for 3, and facing Cahill. Kemp has a home run in the past against Cahill. Had a .267 batting average against him. Cahill pitched the 12th inning last night. Had nothing to do with Kemp. 1 ball and 1 strike. Off the plate, 2-1 to count. Yesterday, both the Giants and the Dodgers lost. Giants are playing tonight in San Diego. Two balls, two strikes, two out. Fastball got him. Boy, we've had a lot of called third strikes. Dodgers go down in order. Cahill strikes out 2. And at the end of 7, 8-4 Dodgers.
Hanley wants to see you in this.
Coming off an easy 9-pitch inning in the 7th. Second time he's only had to make 9 pitches. He also had 1 inning where he made only 7. So he's made 93 total. They're keeping an eye on him. And Brian Wilson begins to stretch it out down in the Dodger bullpen. Neither Wilson nor Kenley Jansen were ready for last night. Wilson had made 38 pitches the day before. Jansen had made 30 pitches the day before, so they couldn't pitch last night. But we assume they are eligible to pitch tonight as we go to the 8th. By the way, they're in the middle of the 6th inning. San Diego 2 and the Giants 1. Former Dodger Eric Stoltz is outdueling Tim Hudson so far. Aaron Hill grounded out, hit by a pitch, popped up 0 for 2. Ball 1. 8 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 6 hits for the D-backs. D-backs have had 2 doubles. Dodgers have had a home run and a double. Andre Ethier, the home run. A one-hopper knocked down, and that's all. That was blocked by Uribe. Boy, that thing was really hit. Well, you talk about the hot corner. Every now and then a ball is hit like that. One hop and it just eats him up. It'll go as a base hit. Too hot to handle. Can you imagine when they played on AstroTurf how the ball would explode? Aaron has given up 4 runs, 7 hits. Foul back. Goldschmidt struck out, singled, hit into a double play. His base hit was in that 4-run 3rd inning. And he knocked in 2 at the base hit to right field. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Aaron trying to give the Dodgers 8 innings today. Little roller, it hits, goes foul. So Goldschmidt will come back, try it again. Aaron Hill back to first. Nobody out in the 8th. 8-4 Dodgers. Miguel Montero hits behind Goldschmidt. We told you that Giant ball game, a tough one with San Diego leading 2-1. Remember, the Giants began that game having 8 consecutive games decided by 1 run. That's a chopper to the right side. Gordon goes to Ramirez, but late and high to first. So it's a force play 4-6. Goldschmidt's aboard. Miguel Montero will be coming up. That streak of 1-run games, that's the longest streak in the Giants franchise history. You have to go all the way back to the New York Giants of 1910. They also played 8 straight. But they're involved in an 8 straight right now, maybe number 9, trailing 2-1. Now let's see. Mattingly might figure that's enough for Aaron. And he gives him the ball. So Dan Herron might very well have allowed less than 4, except for the trouble the Dodgers had in the 3rd inning. He gets a standing applause from the crowd. 8-4 Dodgers. We'll be back. And he made 110 pitches. So he gets 2 outs. Well, he gets into the 8th inning with 1 out, and then he comes out. And Brian Wilson comes in. Brian, 0-1. Wasn't really ready to pitch when he did, so they sent him out to get some innings. Wilson getting the mound to his liking. That's one of the problems when you are a relief pitcher. You inherit a lot of potholes out there on the mound. Remember when Arizona scored 4, only one of the 4 runs were earned. So Dan's earned run average is down to 1.8. And here's Miguel Montero, 1.8. And Dan has a chance to go 3-0 for the 3rd time in his career to start a season. Montero has struck out, doubled, grounded out, 1 for 3. Strike. Brian Wilson working on Miguel Montero. Brian with on his back. He's kind of an guy. One ball, one strike. Montero finds Goldschmidt at first. One out, eighth inning. 8-4 Dodgers. There goes the runner. The pitch off the plate. 2-1 to count. Well, no one broke the cover. Nobody bothered to hold him. So that's indeed defensive indifference. 2-1. Three balls, one strike. That's outside, ball four. So Goldschmidt at second, Montero at first. Cody Ross coming up with one out. Ross struck out, flied to right, grounded to second. Dan Herron, who is without a doubt one of the great control pitchers in the game. Herron hit a batter, that was Hill, but did not walk anybody. He is remarkable in the ratio of innings pitched and walks allowed. Now Wilson, after walking Montero, falls behind. 1 ball and no strikes to Cody Ross. In talking about the defensive indifference, Don Hartack is a scorer tonight. Ed Merson last night. During the Giant game, that's ball 2. Giants had a runner at first. One out, 9th inning. Dodgers were leading 2-0. And the runner at first went to second, and they ruled defensive indifference. And I was thinking, wow, how indifferent can you be in a 2-0 game? First of all, you let the guy go to second. That takes away a force play, takes away a double play, and the hitter at the plate is the possible tying run. So he asked Ed about it, and he was saying, first of all, it depends where the first baseman is, whether you determine indifference or not. 2 balls, 1 strike. Little foul ball. So if the first baseman is on the bag and the runner goes, that's a stolen base. If the first baseman is standing behind the runner about an arm's length behind him, where the runner has to look over his shoulder all the time, that's a stolen base. But if the first baseman is back where, let's say, Adrian is right now, and the runner goes, then that's indifference. Couldn't understand why indifference, though, in a 2-0 game with the tying run at the plate. 2-2. And low and away. So 3-2 to Cody Ross with 2 on. Martin Prado on deck. Dodgers lead by 4. Herron still very much the pitcher of record. 3-2, 1 out. Runners hold, and it's foul back. Wilson, who has certainly been through the mill, came to the Giants back in 2006. His best year, 2010, when he saved 48 games. Came back the next year and saved 36. 3-2. And that's popped in the air, back of first, down the line. Gonzalez at the rail, can't make it. Still 3-2. Looking at Brian Wilson going up against Cody Ross. Ross 3-for-6 against him in the past. 500 batting average. 3-2 again. Got him. Another caught looking. So a big strikeout for Brian Wilson to run it in at the knees. 2 down, and Martin Prado coming up. Prado has twice flied to center, last time up single to left. Hitting .250. 8-4, Dodgers lead in the 8th inning. That's on the corner for a strike, 0-1. By the way, when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th, Andre Ethier, Juan Uribe, and Drew Butera. (0-1). Fastball away, throwing a nice easy 92. One ball, one strike, 2 on, 2 out, 8th inning, 8-4 Dodgers. Fastball missed 94. That's about as hard as he'll fire, but he lives right around that number all the time. Brian, 32 years old. Been a pro since 2004. When he broke in at Hagerstown. Went to school at LSU, had Tommy John surgery twice, the first time when he was in school at LSU. 2-2. Boy, it's amazing when you realize he's had 2 surgeries, 2 most serious surgeries, and he's throwing 94. Brian is 6'2", around 200 pounds, including the tattoo. Two balls, 2 strikes. 2 on, 2 out. Just missed. 3-2. Waiting on deck, Mark Trumbo. And he's the possible tying run. Runners ready to go. Runners go. And the pitch is whacked into right center field. That should go to the wall. It will no doubt score 2. The relay by Gordon is not worth throwing. And the runners are in, and all of a sudden it is 8-6 in favor of the Dodgers. And Mark Trumbo coming up, and for Dan Herron worrying about a victory that might just fly away. So Prado, a double into right center, drives into J.P. Howell, gets up in the Dodger bullpen, and Rick Honeycutt is on his way out to the mound. So Prado hits it hard, drives in 2. 8 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers, 6 runs, 8 hits for Arizona. Mark Trumbo, who can tie it up with 1 swing. Howell's warming up in a hurry. Trumbo has singled, struck out, fouled out. We're in the 8th with 2 out. Brian Wilson kind of talking to himself a little bit after that double. He just missed on the 2-2 pitch, and with the runners going, Prado bangs home 2 with the double. So here is Trumbo with all of his power, representing the possible tying run. And he promptly drives it into right, base hit. They will stop Prado. Ethier gets the ball into Gonzalez. So now the tying runs are aboard. And the young shortstop, Chris Owings, will be coming up.
Shortstop number 16, Chris Owings.
So Trumbo, 2 singles in 4 at-bats. The way things are going, Owings would be the last batter that Wilson would face because the left-hand hitting Eric Chavez is out on deck, and that's why J.P. Howell was warming up in a hurry in the bullpen. So for Wilson, this is his inning right now. He's given up a walk, a double, a single, Chavez on deck, and Owings 1 for 2 at the plate. And ball 1. Owings sacrificed, doubled, and popped up. Wilson has given up 2 hits, a walk, and he has a strikeout. And now he's behind 2-0. Restless time for Rick Honeycutt and Don Mattingly, not to mention Dan Herron. 2-0. And hard ground ball. Gordon on his knee feeds his man Ramirez, and that's it. Bryan gets out of it, but not before he gives up 2. Herron breathes a sigh of relief and will head for the dressing room. And we're heading for the bottom of the 8th, 8-6 Dodgers. Phone or tablet, get live look-ins, instant replays, scores, stats, audio, free MLB TV game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Dodgers.com today. Andre Ethier, Juan Uribe, and Drew Butera. It was quite a struggle for Brian Wilson. He labored hard to get 2 outs. He made 23 pitches, and he gave up a single, a double, and a walk, but he got out of the inning. down in the Dodger bullpen, as you would imagine now. Kenley Jansen tuning up. He'll be asked to close it up. Remember the day before in San Francisco, Kenley made 30 pitches. Wilson made 28 that day and made 23 tonight. Andre Ethier against Trevor Cahill, and a fly ball to straightaway center. Parra is there. Ethier's had the big hit, the 3-run home run in the 4th inning that got the Dodgers back in the game.
Number 5, Juan Uribe.
Juan Uribe has struck out, popped up, and lined out. Still with big numbers, 347, 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in. When the Diamondbacks come up in the 9th inning, they had Eric Chavez out on deck, so maybe he would bat for Cahill. And then it would be Parra and Hill. So just to give you something to think about, Parra is batting 143 against Jansen. Chavez is just 0 for 1 against Jansen if they use him. And Hill 2 for 6 against Jansen. If they get to Goldschmidt against Jansen, Goldie is hitting 273, 3 for 11 with a home run against Jansen. That's a strike, 2-2. Three and two. Cahill is the 3rd pitcher. Young Bolsinger started, then Perez, and now Trevor. Waiting on deck, Drew Butera, and way out in front is Juan Uribe on that pitch, and that runs it all the way 3-2. Cahill made 11 pitches last night. Comes back to make 31 at least. And that takes care of Uribe. So Cahill comes in, restores order. He'd retired 8 in a row. Drew Butera has struck out, flied to left, deep to left. That was a fine running catch by Mark Trumbo. That was way back in the 4th inning. Trumbo backhanding it on the dead run, running from the wall just about to the Dodger bullpen gate. Out on deck to bat for Brian Wilson, Yasiel Puig. One ball, no strikes. 1-1. Cahill, who was a starter, was 0-4, fell upon lean times, but boy, he has been very effective in relief. Kevin Towers, the GM, and Kirk Gibson, the manager, said we want him to go to the bullpen and work things out. 1-2. 2-2. And got him. So that's 9 in a row retired by Trevor Cahill, who pitched an absolute gem. He struck out 4, and at the end of 8, it's 8-6 Dodgers. scores in those games were 6-0, and then 8-5 and 8-6. And here we are with another 8-6 game. Tony Campana, a fleet-footed left-hand batter who runs like the wind, he'll lead it off. Then Parra and Hill, and if anybody gets on, Goldschmidt. Campana last night ran for Miguel Montero and worked all the way around and scored on the wild pitch. That was when they were trying to walk Martin Prado, and Chris Withrow had one get away. So now it's Kenley Jansen. Had 30 pitches his last time out against the Giants. Was rested last night like Wilson. Now here he is. In the 9th inning in San Francisco, he struck out Michael Morse, but he struck him out on a hard-breaking curveball that wound up a wild pitch, and Morse wound up at first base. Little cutter, ball one. In the course of that inning, he gave up a walk and a base hit, but finally got the last out in the 9th inning. That's a strike. 1-1. Arizona has to be encouraged by how well Trevor Cahill pitched. 37 pitches, retired 9 in a row. We mentioned earlier about seemed like a lot of strikeouts in the series in 2 games when the hitters are caught looking, and it adds up. There have been 19 times in the 2 games where the hitter has struck out looking. That's a strike. 10 Diamondbacks have struck out looking, 9 Dodgers. Campana's 5'8", about 165. Gerardo Parra on deck. Campana just trying to get aboard any way he can. Bends at the knees and waist. Doesn't give you much of a strike zone. And ball 3. Campana has stolen as many as 55 bases in the minors, so he can move it. 3-2. Little roller to Gordon, and one speedster takes care of the other. 1 out here in the 9th inning. Gerardo Parra has grounded out, reached on an error twice, and hit back to the box. 0 for 4, hitting .259. One out, 9th inning, 8-6 Dodgers. And a strike. They're in the top of the 8th inning in San Diego, and the Giants, unbelievably so, are in their 9th consecutive 1-run game. It hasn't been decided yet, but it's 2-1 San Diego in the 8th. Ground ball to the hole, backhanded by Hanley, winds up, throws a strike. The paid attendance tonight, 48,541. And if you can, hope you'll spend part of Easter with us right here. We had 47,680 last night. So Aaron Hill with his foot in the door and Paul Goldschmidt on deck. And ball 1. A lot of pressure on Jansen, of course, to get Hill. He doesn't want to look at Goldschmidt representing the tying run. Aaron Hill is 2 for 6, hitting .333 against Jansen. So he's a tough out. Breaking ball in there. One ball and one strike. Aaron Hill reached on a base hit in the 8th inning. 1-2. So Hill, who had the game-winning base hit in the 12th inning last night, now with his foot in the door, 2 out in the 9th. And a drive into right center field. It's going to land, and so the Dodger nightmare, they're going to have to look at Paul Goldschmidt representing the tying run with 2 out in the 9th. So a little flare into right. Hill comes up with his second hit, and now here is Goldschmidt with all of his power. Goldie has struck out and single, hit into a double play, and hit into a fourth play. To refresh your memory, we were just talking about Kenley Jansen and Goldschmidt. Goldie hitting .273 with a home run against Kenley. On deck, Miguel Montero. Gonzalez hollering that he's not going to hold Hill on. So again, this is like San Francisco. You see Gonzalez back there, so if Hill goes, they let him steal second. That will be indifferent. There he goes. Missed at the plate. No balls, 1 strike. Oh, and 2. Kenley hits 96. That's as hard as he has thrown so far. Big battle now. Ball game on the line. No balls, 2 strikes. Foul back. Goldschmidt last year, 36 home runs, 125 runs batted in. Got him. So Jansen strikes out Goldschmidt, and the Dodgers hang on and win it. 8 runs, 9 hits, and 2 errors. For the D-backs, 6 runs, 10 hits, and 2 errors. Kenley Jansen made 16 pitches after Brian Wilson made 23. Jansen the save, and the big moment, I think, the Dodgers were down 4-0 when Andre Ethier came up in the 4th inning. He hit a 3-run home run from Boslinger, and that set the Dodgers on the right course. They went on to score 8 runs in the 2 innings, 4th and 5th, and win the ball game 8-6. Don't forget tomorrow, Josh Beckett, Josh Coleman are at 1:10. Hope you'll spend Easter with us. And with that, we'll wish you all a very pleasant good evening.